All right. What is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. Per the usual, I'm your host, Coach JK McLeod, and we are kicking off another weekly dose of good news and gratitude in today's episode. If you're not familiar with this particular segment, or I guess this particular weekly thing on the Help Me Understand podcast, this is where I take the opportunity to share just what we talk about, some good news and some stories of gratitude that have come my way over the past couple of days, the past week, basically since the last episode. So before getting into those, though, I first, as always, want to say thank you for choosing to press play on the Help Me Understand podcast. I know that you have plenty of other podcast content that you can and most likely do consume. So I truly really just never take it for granted that you chose to press play on Help Me Understand and include it in hopefully your weekly listening queue. On Tuesdays, we do something fitness focused for the podcast episode. And then on Thursday or Friday, we release an episode all about good news and gratitude. And then occasionally we'll throw something else in there in between. Speaking of that, if you do have particular questions or ideas for topics, they don't have to be fitness related at all. You can definitely submit those at any time. You can hit me up on Instagram at Coach JK McLeod, or you can email me jk@jkmcleod.com. Okay, let's get into today's episode to talk about some recent good news and share some stories of gratitude. So what I've got for you here today is going to be, I'm going to start things off actually a little bit differently, and I'm going to share with you a story that came across my feed. It's actually a news story. So I'm going to start off with that, and then we will flip over into things that were shared with me through the Instagram prompt that I put up, and also a couple from a Threads prompt that I put up. So I think all in all, we've got 1, 2, 3, I think 5 that were submitted. But first, let me share what I think was a pretty cool story with you here. So this is a story that I read about a woman named Lorraine Bester was her name. And what she's doing is she starts with something that I think a lot of people have probably seen or unfortunately may have experienced. I have experienced this for sure, and that's a broken car window. So these would be cars that were broken into. And I believe this was in the San Francisco area. I know it was in California. So basically, after your car gets broken into, you've got that shattered glass. Or I believe she also was taking shattered auto glass from when your car gets damaged, like in an accident or something along those lines. And most of those times, that glass just gets swept up and thrown away. And I don't know, I don't quite understand how she got this idea, because this is absolutely brilliant. What she does is she takes the broken car window glass that's basically been like completely written off, and she actually turns it into handmade earrings that resemble jade. And if you are able to see what the finished product looks like, it doesn't even look like what it started as. It comes across like very smooth and polished, and straight up, it's actually pretty striking, considering that it came from something that most people really associate with frustration or a bad day. I mean, we're essentially talking about like your car getting broken into, or God forbid, an accident. And from what I read, this whole thing basically started as more of a personal mission to keep glass out of landfills and find a better use for something that basically gets discarded pretty quickly. And then over time, it just started to turn into something bigger and bigger. So her business is called The Glass Studio. And through this particular business, she is now creating pieces that people actually like go out of their way to seek out. And each particular thing, each particular piece has a bit of a story behind it because of where the material actually came from. And I think that's something that really makes this particular one stand out as good news, because she's not just specifically only focused on recycling. There's really this passion to tie something positive to a negative moment, like that car break in or damage, and just basically turn it into something that's completely different. So, again, as with a lot of the stories, or most of the stories that I will share on this weekly dose of good news and gratitude, this isn't like some massive company or some like insanely huge big production. It is simply one person who's paying attention to something that a lot of people really overlook and then really deciding to do something about it. And then the end result is something that people can wear, which started as shattered glass on the side of the road. And I think I wanted to start with that one because I think that's just pretty cool. It's just an absolute turnaround. So wanted to share that particular story to start off, and then we'll get into the ones that were submitted. So let's see, there were three. All right, I've got three pieces of good news and or gratitude that were submitted via Instagram DMs. Again, that if you're not following me, you should follow me on Instagram at Coach JK McLeod. Uh, Typically, I focus on posting things about training and habits and things that actually matter when it comes to moving the needle forward in your fitness and especially your foundational fitness habits. And I also focus on daily gratitude. So I post a prompt or a question sticker inside of my Instagram stories, usually on Thursday morning ish or early afternoon. And here's what was submitted. So, one person submitted that a recent piece of good news and gratitude, they doubled up, was that they are currently 10 pounds down with no muscle lost in that process. And they are thankful for the progress. So, shout out to you. I believe that you are a listener of the podcast. So, nice work, man. Super stoked for you to have experienced those results thus far, and just keep it running. And if you know, you know. All right. Another person submitted that they are grateful for recent friends that were made at work. And for those of you who do work if you work in an environment where you have team members, whether they are at your level from an organizational structure standpoint, or below you, or above you, or whatever the case may be, being able to have folks that you not only can work well with, but also then the bonus of being able to have folks that you believe you can actually become friends with and things like that, that is definitely something to be grateful for. So props to you. And especially, I believe, if I remember correctly, we've had some previous conversation about sometimes some work situations that are not so fantastic, or work scenarios that are not fantastic. So I'm glad to hear from this particular individual that they made some recent friends at work that are hopefully making that a good experience. All right. And then the last one that was submitted via Instagram DM, shout out to this particular person who submitted that good news recently is that they have a new baby niece that is due in August. So congratulations, sending all of the supportive vibes for a healthy and happy experience there. All right. And then just finishing things up with a couple of responses that I got when I posted this on Threads. And shameless plug, my handle on Threads is the same as it is on Instagram. It's at Coach JK McLeod. I probably spend more time there on Threads than I do on any of the other social media platforms. So I did post, again, a prompt if somebody had anything that they wanted to pass on as far as good news and or gratitude. And I got two responses. So one of them is from a longtime friend acquaintance from my high school days. So shout out to you if you're listening. She said that something she's grateful for is beautiful connections. Also, I'm going to be the guest journaling guide for a hiking group in June. So I'm so excited about it. So props to you if you happen to be listening. And again, this is just for me and hopefully for other folks. It's just a reminder that good things are happening to good people out there, and they're regardless of the regardless of events that continue to happen around us, there is still some good news to celebrate, and folks are still out here making progress and getting opportunities to be able to really live in their passion. So congrats to you. All right. And this last one, I'm going to just say it. I saved the best for last because the way that this person started it off, I'm just going to take credit for it. They started off and they said, I'm grateful for your post reminding us of the power of gratitude. So we had to leave this best one for last. So I'm grateful for your posts reminding us of the power of gratitude. They always make me stop and think about things I'm grateful for. A beautiful day and time with good friends are also top of my mind at the moment. So, one, thank you for submitting that feedback. Definitely appreciate it. And two, props on being able to really take the time to enjoy and savor and soak in time with friends. Definitely important. So, hope that turned out well, because that was a day ago. So hope that turned out well. All right, and as we close things out, this maybe is slightly shifting gears a little bit. However, I think you can maybe not have to stretch too far to reach where this can link together. I'm going to throw out a challenge for you that I'm doing inside of the foundation, the Fitness Foundations community, this particular month. So this month, the focus is on eating at least one meal each day where you're not looking at a screen. So I'm calling it April Unplugged, or the April Unplugged Challenge. So the challenge is for one or more meals each and every day, you are not looking at a screen. So you're not looking at your laptop. You are not looking at your phone. You're not looking at a tablet. You're not watching TV, anything like that. So you have one meal where you are attentive, whether that is reading a book, whether it is talking to a person in front of you, whether it's maybe listening to something, maybe it's complete silence. You're just sitting alone with your thoughts and just really enjoying, savoring that particular meal. Within the nutrition space, it's called it can be labeled as attentive eating. I'm also right now on this kick where I don't think everything needs a label, and also we'll just keep it easy. We call it attentive eating. And it's not, P.S., that is not a dieting strategy in any way, shape, or form. It's just a challenge that I'm throwing out, or I've thrown out to a few of my clients, and also again to the Fitness Foundations community, which if you'd like to be a part of that, it's a free community to join. Just shoot me a DM and I'll get you the link for that. The purpose, again, and it relates to that last piece of gratitude that was submitted. The purpose is to take time to slow down for however long you can, if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, hopefully a little bit longer, to really just savor and enjoy the meal and or company that you're with while eating that particular meal. So the challenge is one or more meals each and every day in the month of April. You are completely unplugged as far as a visual thing, or visual technology. So for myself, so far, let's see, this is going out on April 3rd, April 1st and 2nd. So far, I have done at least one meal. April 1st, I did one. April 2nd, I did two. And I do listen to either podcast or music for my screenless meal. So if you'd like a tracker to go along with that, shoot me a DM on Instagram is probably the easiest thing on that one, at Coach JK McLeod, or you can email me, jk@jkmcleod.com, and I'll send you a really easy little tracker if you're somebody who's visual and likes those things. Even if you're listening to this later in the month of April, shoot me a DM and I'll send it over to you. This is not one of those things where it has to have, well, if the month has already started, I can't do it. Like we don't really do that over here. So, all right, with that is going to close out today's episode and this week's dose of good news and gratitude. Thank you so much for listening, per the usual. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye now.